Good evening, everyone. How are we doing this evening? Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Hello, Miss Judy and Tina and Sharon and Gail and Shirley and Maggie. Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? I have an array of different products in front of me. Hello, Miss Barbara. It's bow time. I do this about once a year where I show different bow makers and how they're different, okay? Now it's funny, you'll see the measure buddy here, but I put it in the bow maker category because, yep, you can make a bow with it. If y'all don't mind, send me to the Kentucky Derby. Where is everybody? It's Wednesday night. I guess it's because it's cool outside. Everybody's sitting outside. All right. So, for some people, bow making is extremely overwhelming. All right. So, people got together and they made bow makers. Now, each bow maker is a little bit different. There's only one that's really, really different than some of them on the market. Okay. Now, I'm not going to show you how to make a bow on each and every one of these. We're going to talk about the differences, the pros and cons of them, and then I'm going to select 3 of them to make bows on, okay? All right. So, we'll start with this one right in front of me. It's called the Bow Genius, y'all. They no longer make this product, all right? You can get it some places, but it's pretty neat. It's compact. It has the measuring stuff, and it's easy to store. Now, I believe a fine substitute for this one, we'll set that one aside because we can no longer get it, is this one by Celebrate. Michaels sells it. It does pretty much the same thing, just a different. And the bottom comes out so you can store it. Now, what I like about these bow makers is not only does it have the measuring, but these are spring-loaded. I know this is hard to see on black, but this is spring-loaded. Let me turn that. These are spring-loaded, so it really holds your ribbon in. Okay? This will be one of the bow makers, because it is different, that I will do a bow on. Alright? So we'll set that one aside. The evolution of the Easy Bow Maker. Now, I don't have the really big Easy Bow Maker. Okay? I'm pretty sure I don't need it. I have enough bow makers. Alright? So we have the regular Easy Bow Maker. This is actually the newer one, not the big one, because it has the rose spool on it. Okay? And then the deluxe Easy Bow Maker. They're identical, basically. But we're going to set these two aside because we're going to use the newest one, which is the Easy Bow Stow and Glow. Stow and Go. Stow and Glow. Stow and Go. Okay? So I'll show you how to make a bow on this one. Now, Easy Bow also has this one. Laurie has sent this one out in several kits. As you can see, I have one. Now, this is an interesting little bow maker. Now, I do have to say that if you're just strictly a Christmas person, and the only time that you make bows is for Christmas, I kind of got to recommend this one. This one is by We Are Memory Keepers, which is an HSN company, or you can Google them directly. But this one's actually pretty neat because your stuff's on the inside to store it. You pull your stuff out, you pop this in, and then your spool holder is right here, and you pop that peg in to hold your spool. Now, it's the same, basically, as you can see, as the bow makers of this kind. It's got teeth to hold the ribbon in, whatnot. But, like I said, the one thing that I like about it, if you just do bows seasonally, is the ease to store this one with your Christmas decorations. And you can just put everything back in the box, back in the container. I did something wrong. We might have to recruit Mr. Chocolate. It's locked in somehow, y'all. I haven't, like, used this one. Oh, there it went. I was just afraid I was going to break it. But like I said, this one is nice because you just fold it up and you put it in with your wrapping stuff. So I like that compact package of it for those that just make bows during Christmas. I think this one's pretty cool. And it was fairly inexpensive if I remember correctly. Okay, in the same category of this one and that one, okay, is going to be the Pro Bow all-in-one. So it's kind of in the same category as these as far as making a bow. Now, there are some differences to this one. Okay, well, we're just focusing on the bow aspect of these. All right, so this one's pretty much so the same. It has the measuring. You have your pegs for your spool holder. Like so, you put your pegs here, and then bam, you have a bow maker that is similar to these. Okay? So, but I'm not going to do a demo on this one because it's similar to those, and I'm going to set that one aside. Now, I have shown y'all before, there are tutorials available at Unique at the Creek. I've showed y'all how to make a bow with the Measure Buddy. So you may not put it in the bow making category, but using this, you are perfectly capable to make beautiful bows with the Measure Buddy. Okay? But since it's not labeled as a bow maker, we're going to set it to the side, but I just wanted to point that out. Next up, we have the bigger lumber. Now, this is the bow maker that is truly different than the other ones in the category, because it's a different perspective on making bows. Now, I've had this bow maker, and as you can see, I have different versions of this bow maker. This is the Pro Bow, the hand. This is the original Pro Bow, believe it or not. I actually own one of them, if that tells you how long I've been making wreaths. If you could read what that says on that far right corner, it says patent pending. That's how long I've been using the Pro Bow. So through that, this is when Regina Sellers and her husband were making them in their garage. So this one is a handmade one where everything is put on in their garage. Then she moved up and changed the letters and added an extra row, okay, onto the bow maker. So this went from having, it goes from B to F, mine goes from B to E. All right, so that was the reason that I got this one, was because mine was outdated when everybody started buying the Pro Bow as far as teaching goes. I got the more up-to-date one so that there wouldn't be confusion while I was teaching. Then Regina came out with this one. This is the newest model of the large Pro Bow. For teaching purposes, which that's what I do is I teach, okay? For teaching purposes, I love this one because look how big the letters are. So when I go and I zoom in my camera, you can see the letters very clearly so that you can see what the recipe is. That's what they're called. They're called bow recipes. So that's what I like about this one. All right, so this is the newest one in the line of the Pro Bow. So I will be teaching you on this one tonight. Let me get some of my lumber out of the way real quick. Now, you might ask, let me shrink back the screen for a minute. You might ask, why do I have the larger Pro Bows that I'm getting ready to explain? Believe it or not, each bow maker has a place in my arsenal. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make y'all sick. Each bow maker has a place in my arsenal, and this is what people need to understand. It's not how you do it, okay? Doesn't matter. It's what the end results are. So as you can see, I have several bow makers in my arsenal. Okay? I have these two for larger bows. This one, now, for smaller trees, most people don't have a tree over 7 feet in their home. Okay? So if you have a tree over 7 feet that's 7 feet in your home, you do not need a bow maker any bigger than this one to make tree topper bows. Okay? I will tell you this much, when it comes to making tree topper bows, this is the only board that I will use. When I demonstrate, I will show you why. Okay? But when it comes to making tree topper bows, this is what I use when I make tree topper bows during the Christmas time. Okay? Now, when you get to a tree that's over 7 feet, you get into a bigger board. So that's how I ended up with this board, which is the bigger Pro Bow. This is the deluxe. Okay, so if you're typically making bows for trees 9 feet and tall and over, this is what you're going to need for that size bow. All right. As you can see, it has multiple rows to it, multiple sizes. You can still even do small bows. Okay. Now, this one I ended up with because, it was sent to me. This was actually a gift. But it came in handy, and I do use it. Let me get that one out of the way. Next up in the arsenal is the Ultimate Pro Bow. As you can see, it is very large. And I'm not going to lie, it is a bit heavy. Okay, but the one thing that I like about this one is the weight to it, and also because during Christmas this one comes in handy for me because I make car bows for dealerships. So if you know how big a car is, you're going to have a very large bow, and I am not going to try to hold all that ribbon to make a car bow. That's a lot of ribbon, y'all, and a lot of loops. So that's why I have this one. Also, a lot of people wonder how to fluff a bow. I got to tilt this up so you can see this. Right here on my board. All right. Because this board weighs so much, I have a little eyelet. I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to make it so you can see it. I have an eyelet, and that's for fluffing my bows. Okay. For me, it serves the purpose. If I can get it. Of the fluff box. Which is, a fluff box doesn't come with these bow makers. But you can put that eyelet on any of these bow makers. And you don't need to get the fluff box. Alright, just want to tell you that. Now, each one of the Pro Bows comes with a spool holders. But I'm not going to show you how to make bows on this one. I'm just going to show you how to make it on the, because most people only need this size, okay? I'm organizing my lumber. Hold on, y'all. I don't want to get my toes smashed. Hold on a second. I do. Hold on a second, y'all. Let me get my handsome assistant real quick.
What do you need?
Thank you.
Where am I going?
Just anywhere where Buster can't raise a leg on it. Any questions about the bow makers up to this point before we actually get started into making the bows? Shirley, do your bows look small? Is that what you're saying, Miss Shirley? The pro bow can be intimidating, but I have found that most of the time, the biggest breakdown in confusion among any of the bow makers is bad tutorials. Okay? So, I have found a way to teach people how to make bows so that they understand, and then it makes it easier for you to pick which bow maker is best for you and will accommodate your needs. Yeah, if you've got a 10-foot tree, Miss Shirley, you really need that deluxe. There is a guideline on how big you need your Christmas bow. I can tell y'all what the guideline is. So you know. So we're actually going to start with the Easy Bow Maker. The Easy Bow Maker is one of the popular bow makers, okay? Well, y'all, I'm going to uncomplicate this for you. Because I'm going to break it down. Let me zoom in here. Sometimes the other reason that people get confused on bow tutorials is because they're seeing them backwards. So when you see me, this is my left hand high, left hand. So you're seeing it like you would see it if you're making a bow. This is my left hand. This is my right hand. Okay? So that's the other thing that confuses people is because they're seeing it from the other side. Upside down, basically. Like if you were standing in front of my table watching me this way. So it just so happens that I have some bows that I need to make. So that's what we're going to do, and that's how I'm going to teach them tonight. So here we go. So let me get some ribbon out. We're going to make Christmas bows, my friends. Does anybody have any questions that I missed up to this point? I know Tina Kelly answers questions, but I think this is like, I'm really trying to pay attention. Okay, so with the Easy Bow Maker, I actually have some extra long pipe cleaners that I got just for making bows. So the first thing you want to do is you want to lay your pipe cleaner or wire or zip tie. Now, if you want to put a zip tie in there, and some of y'all might need to, which is fine, y'all, If you need to lay a zip tie in there because you don't have good hand strength, go ahead and do it at the beginning, like so. All right? However you need to do this, it's fine. Do what you need to do. Then take your pipe cleaner and just tuck it out of the way under your bow maker so it's not in the way. Okay? Everybody got a good seat, got a good view. The biggest question most people ask when it comes to making bow is how big do you make it? The one convenient thing, especially if you make wreaths, is that when it comes to making your bow, you hold this up to your wreath, okay? And this would be your center point, and then you decide whether or not you want your bow to be this big, this big, this big, and then make your bow. So that's the nice thing about the measurements on these. And if you'll notice, there is one bow maker missing from the party. And I will tell you why it's missing from the party. Okay? And that is the Bodabra. I'm not trying to bash. However, if you're beginner bow maker, okay, personally, and like I said, this is all for my opinion, y'all. I'm going to do my best to stay impartial. But when you're a beginning bow maker, you need to be able to measure. Okay? The Bodabra does not offer the ability to measure, which leaves you running out or having to purchase something to measure. Okay? So that kind of defeats the purpose. And I'll just tell y'all my story. When I first started making wreaths, the Bodabra was the first bow maker that I bought because it was available at Hobby Lobby. And I just didn't quite understand how to make bows. But it was because of that bow maker and me sitting there going, there's got to be a better way. There has got to be a better way. Literally, y'all. I watched the tutorials and I'm like, there's got to be a better way. That's how I actually found the Pro Bow before the Pro Bow was the Pro Bow. All right. So check this out. Number one, it is recommended that when you're making a bow, especially a large bow, that you use wired ribbon. The quality of your ribbon when making bows is really, really important. If you are a first-time bow maker, I would not recommend using satin ribbon. Satin ribbon, is actually one of the most difficult ribbons to use. So I don't recommend using it, okay? I recommend that you get a good sturdy ribbon and use that for your practice ribbon. Satin ribbon, what it does is it kind of, I'll show you. I have some. It will kind of like fold up easier, and it's difficult to make loops with if you don't know what you're doing. So if you're new to making bows, when you're trying to make a loop, you're trying to get it to do the things that people like me teach you how to do, it folds up pretty easy. It kind of doesn't pull out, and it's harder to manipulate it unless you know what you're doing. So, not a good idea to buy satin ribbon. You can get a canvas ribbon, something like that when you're first starting. Alright, so when you're making a bow with the Easy Bow Maker, and like I said, I'm making bows to go on wreaths. Okay? So, using this bow maker, the first thing that you want to do is you want to put your tail down, but at the same time, you have to think forward into making your loop. So, in order to make your loop, you have to remember to make a loop that you're going to come back over this way. And if you're going to come back over this way, this is what happens. Oops. Now your ribbon is upside down. So that's where the pinch and twist comes in. So you got to do your pinch and twist. So you're half and half, half right side up and half upside down. Okay? And then bring your loop back. Now take your hand and set it on your bow maker on how big you want your loop. So I'm going to want mine 7 inches. So I'm setting my hand where the 7 inches is to the right. If you're left-handed, obviously you're going to do this kind of backwards from how I'm doing it, but you'll get the concept. So I'll set my hand right here on my ribbon. So when I'm making my loop, it won't move. And then I'm going to put my ribbon down into my bow maker at this point, and then twist my ribbon so that it is upside down again. There actually is, Nina, there actually is a correct way to twist the ribbon, because that's something else that people have a difficult time with and getting their bows to look right. I will show you when we get to another bow maker how to do the twist. Okay, so now, once again, we're going to put it on my hand on the 7 and pull this down, and then that way, boom, my loops are the same size. Now, at this point, you do not have to change ribbons, but I'm going to, and the reason I'm going to is I'm just going to show you the basic style that most wreath makers use. So we're going to change the ribbon. And I'm going to show you something else for a seasoned bow maker, and something that drives people crazy is when you use a ribbon that has a print on it and it's got a direction to it. Now, I'm not doing this to confuse my new people, but the first thing that we're going to do to make sure that our legs are all going in the same direction on our bow is we're just going to take this and lay our tail in. And then cut it off. Okay? Then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make our first loop kind of outside our bow maker. And I want mine to be 6 inches. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. I want mine to be 6 inches. I'm going to leave a little bit of overhang, and I'm going to pinch this up and set this in my bow maker. Every time you go up, I drop an inch. So my first loop is 7 inches, and my next loop is 6 inches. So now I'm just going to bring this one over at the 6 inches. And you can either cut another tail or just cut this off at the base. For this particular ribbon, I'm just going to have a little fun with this, and I'm going to cut it off as another tail. And all my legs are facing the same way. Everybody with me so far? Any questions? Not all ribbon needs to be dovetailed. This is a ribbon that does not need to be dovetailed because nobody's going to know. Okay? So once again, the first thing that we want to do, measure our tail. And then you want to get a good pinch. So you just kind of like pinch it together. And this is not a good ribbon to show on. And then you want to twist it. And then set it in your bow maker. Now with this ribbon, because I haven't been putting this ribbon in my wreaths, y'all, I've been making 2 loops on each side. So that's what we're going to do. And so this was 7, 6, so these loops are going to be 5 inches. Notice, I'm not putting my full hand in there. I'm putting my finger, because this is a smaller ribbon, to my 5 inches. And then inside the pegs here, I'm making my twist. So once again, out, put your ribbon in first, out to the 5 inches, and then in between your pegs, you're going to hold it and make your twist. Okay, so with the easy bow maker, inside your legs here is where you're going to do your twist because it's helping you hold your ribbon and twist it. Okay? On this one, I might pull it tightly against my finger, yes. Because I have my finger holding it to stop it from flying through. So, bottom one was 7, 6, 5, so now we're going to go to 4. I always dovetail my ribbon first. It's a habit. And the reason I do it first is because when you're actually finished with the bow, it's harder to find your tails to dovetail them. So I just go ahead and do it and get it out of the way. All right. So once again, gather your ribbon up. This is how I make my first twist. And then twist. And then I set it in there. And then gently pull this over to make my first loop. And then 4 inches, I'm going to take my finger, hold it in here at the 4 inches to keep my ribbon from moving, whatnot. Because my ribbon, my finger is not only holding my loop, but it's holding me from pulling my ribbon through. All right, so it serves several purposes to hold my finger here. And so now I'm going to put my loop, my ribbon through. I got my 4-inch loop. Now I'm going to do my twist. Okay. Come back through. Put my finger at the 4 inches. Pull my ribbon down. If I need to adjust, I just kind of roll my finger back. And there you have your 4-inch loop. Now, here's where it's important to put your pipe cleaner in, because this is going to help you get your bow out and not mess up your stack of ribbon. All right, so here's your pipe cleaner. We laid it in there. Take your pipe cleaner, crisscross it through. Did y'all see that? Everybody's with me? Are we doing good? And then pull this down tight. When you do, take your fingers on the underneath. Hold your pipe cleaners, take your fingers on the underneath, and push your bow up to get it off of your bow maker. Alright, I've got this with my pipe cleaners. Now, at this point, if you don't have good hand strength, and you forgot your zip tie, this is where the zip tie comes in handy. And I'm just going to tell you this. Don't let go of your stack, y'all. Alright, and then you just crank it down. And we're leaving our pipe cleaner on here because that's what we're going to use to put our bow on our wreath. And if somebody could tell me where my wire cutters are at. Okay, we'll just use the small ones. Alright. So now at this point, you can either fluff your bow. I fluff mine on my wreaths because I use the weight of my wreath to fluff my bow out. Okay? Some people will fluff their bow as they make them. I don't, and there's a reason I don't fluff my bow as I make them. Okay? And that's because by the time I pull the bow off and I get done putting the zip tie on and everything, the bow does not look anything like what is fluffed, and to me, you could end up over handling your ribbon. I have done that to where it loses its it becomes soft. It loses its rigidity. So that's why I just typically wait till I get the bow on my wreath before I do any fluffing. How you fluff your bow, where you put your tails, where you put your loops, can greatly change the appearance as you do them. But that's the Easy Bow Maker. Any questions before I move on to the next one? Everybody ready to move on to the next bow maker? No questions, no questions, no questions. All right, moving on. Okay, so to be fair to this bow maker comparison, I'm only going to use the things that came with it. Okay, now the downside of this one, it doesn't come with spool holders, but oddly enough, this is odd, y'all, it seems to have a place to put pegs. Yes, it does, Miss Sharon. Miss Lynn, I do. I always twist toward me with my right hand. So I thought that was an odd thing about this bow maker. And I looked around the packaging and stuff. I'm like, okay, it seems like there should be a peg here. It looks like there's a hole for a spool holder, but there's no peg. Like, I dug around the packaging and I looked to see if there was like a hidden compartment on the bow maker that I was missing a peg or something, but nope. So I just thought that was odd. So, weird. Alright, so let me take, this is the spool holder. See, it looks like you could put a peg there, so if you get a dowel rod. Alright, but since it doesn't come with this stuff, that's just my suggestion. We're not going to use it. Alright, once again, we're going to get our pipe cleaner out. Now, the one thing that I like about this bow maker is that the pipe cleaner lays straight across. So I kind of like that. The Easy Bow Maker, it lays at an angle, but this one is designed so it lays straight across. The other thing about this bow maker is it's got a little knob here for you to twist, so your pipe cleaners don't move. So I think that's pretty neat. It has the measurements. This one goes all the way out to 8 inches. The Stow and Go goes to 7 inches. If you want bigger bows, you'll need to use a measuring for that. Barbara, a place local to me, has them. Alright. Now, one of the things that I like about this one is that it is spring-loaded. So, when it will really hold your ribbon. Now, the downside to that is I've heard a lot of people complain that this being spring-loaded makes it difficult for them to get the bow out. Alright. I don't know, Barbara. Hold on. I'm not sure. $21 inches. Alright, so this bow maker is the Celebrate. You can get it at Michael's. They even have it for sale on Amazon. Lynn, there isn't a general size loop for Grapevine necessarily. Let me think. Am I going to be making a centerpiece or anything? Alright, I'll show y'all how to make a Grapevine bow on this one. How about that? Even though I'm not going to be making a Grapevine wreath anytime soon, I'll show y'all kind of a grapevine method. So when you're making grapevines, y'all, your loops are going to be typically a little bit bigger, and the reason that they're going to be bigger is because you put your bow on before you put in a lot of your florals. Okay, now I know that typically here people don't do grapevines or things like that, but we do centerpieces. Now this is a bow too that applies to centerpieces as well, because you're going to want your loops to stand up out of your arrangement. Alright, so we're going to have fun with this one. A little fun with this one. So, what we're going to do is we're going to lay this ribbon in here first. And then we're going to cut our tail. Okay? Step 1. Then you're going to want some actually fairly tall loops. And with grapevine loops, you're going to have larger loops, and you're not going to step them down like you would for a mesh wreath. So let's twist this in here, and we're going to do an 8-inch loop. Like I said, this one does not come with anything for a spool holder, so I'm not going to use a spool holder. I believe a fair comparison is using everything that came in the box. All right, so we're going to do another loop. And we're going to do another set of loops. We're going to do 4 loops. We're going to cut that, and to be fun, this is a grapevine kind of style bow. We're going to come in here and add another tail. Since I have just this piece of ribbon, we're going to add this in as a tail. Now, when making these large loop bows, you really don't need anything other than a 1.5 ribbon. And you want to make sure that you've got good quality ribbon for these loops. All right, so we're going to come in, and first thing, once again, we're going to lay down a ribbon tail. Okay, so now this time we're going to make our loops 7 inches. We're going to slightly come in, not far, like 7 inches, y'all. We're going to go just slightly. And then for a grapevine bow, we're actually going to make 3 of these loops. Because you kind of want to do what's like a button bow. So for your center one, you want to do a 3rd loop. So we're going to lay that in there. And then we're going to do a tail to finish it off. Everybody with me so far? Any questions? Any questions? All right, to get this off of your bow maker, unwind it. Take your pipe cleaner and crisscross it. Take this side over to this side over to this side, and tighten down. To get this out of your bow maker, y'all, take your fingers, go underneath your ribbon, all the way underneath your bow, and lift it out. It kind of depends on how much ribbon you want in your bow, Miss Shirley. For this particular style, for a grapevine and floral, you're going to have more florals, and your ribbon is kind of like an accent. It's not the main focus. So that's kind of how I decide how many loops. All right, so when you fluff these up, you're going to go pretty much so almost like straight up with all your loops because of how you put it in a grapevine. And I do recommend taking a bow like this and fluffing it directly on your grapevine because it's just so much easier. The way to use the grapevine will help you fluff your bow. When you take your tails, notice how I'm rounding them in my fingers. Grapevine bows are typically very loose and airy looking. All right. So this is ready to go on a grapevine. Any questions? It's also ready to go into a centerpiece. Now the reason for grapevines and centerpieces that you want a very light, airy bow is because you're going to put florals around the bow. So you're actually going to end up, when you're making your grapevine, kind of moving your loops a lot to put greenery and whatnot around the loops as you're building your centerpiece or your grapevine. Okay? All right, so that is, like I said, this bow maker is from Michaels. Any questions? This video will be available for replay. You can watch it on Facebook or YouTube. Alright, so this is the Pro Bow. This is the bow maker that intimidates most people. I have found that the reason that most bow makers intimidate people is because they don't understand the tutorials, bad perspective, whatever. Okay? I'm just here to tell y'all that I have all these bow makers. They have a purpose, y'all. Number one, I have carpal tunnel. I can make a bow by hand, but holding the ribbon is like no bueno. Okay, I can do it for a limited amount of time. I can do a bow like this by hand, but All right, so let's get into this one. This one comes with a spool holder, And believe it or not, I have an arsenal of spool holders, my friends. And the reason I have an arsenal of spool holders is because the spool holder came with the Pro Bow, and I have 6 Pro Bows. So I actually have 7 spool holders. All right, which over the years they've come in handy. This is actually the spool holder for the first one. And down underneath here I have more, and I have more around the house. Okay, but this is the one that we're going to use. When I got these, I used it a lot, so I hot glued my pegs in. All right, my other tip that if you get a Pro Bow, the first thing that I do to my Pro Bow is it comes with sticky pads, and I do this with all my bow makers. Okay, I buy these black skid pad. They're at Lowe's, y'all, and they stick to the back, and they hold the board better from scooting around. So I do that to all my bow makers. I forgot to show y'all that. So they won't slide around. So when they get on RC, it doesn't scoot. Okay. This one comes with pegs. So the first bow that we're going to make on this, we're actually going to make 2 on this one because I want to show you how to make a normal size bow, and then I want to show you how to make the difference between and making a tree topper bow with the Pro Bow. Like I said, every bow maker has its purpose in my arsenal. I'm using row C here because it is the most common wreath size, and let me give you all a little tip, okay? Each bow maker has its measurements. Okay, on the Pro Bow, B is 10 inches, C is 12 inches, D is 14, 16, 18. Okay, so if this is 10 inches right here, from here to here is 5 inches, from here to here is 6 inches, from here to here is 7, 8, 9. So that's how big your loops are, if that helps. In the Pro Bow, when you get it, it comes with this special peg. This is what's called your finger peg, and it sits right there in the board. Everybody with me so far? Alright, so what you want to do with your Pro Bow, here we go. This goes a little bit different how you're building your bow, but not really. It's just a change of perspective, y'all. You're still building your bow the same, but you're building it laying down instead of standing up. So to use the Pro Bow, you use wire, but so that y'all can see what I'm doing, I'm also going to use a pipe cleaner. And I'm going to use 2 different color pipe cleaners so that you don't get confused. Alright, so I'm going to use black and white. And there's a reason for this, because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. The first thing you want to do when you're using the Pro Bow, alright, believe it or not, we're going to dovetail first. And we're going to remember that we're building our bow differently, because we're going from the center down. So we're starting in the center and going down. So I'm going to start with a 1.5 ribbon. Alright, the bad side of your tail is going to face you. Bad side faces you with this bow maker. Now, how I do this, we're going to make with the terry bow. I'm sure everybody's heard of the terry bow at this point. Okay, so what we're going to do, and you want to, the bad side faces away from you, and this is how I measure my tails. I go from peg to peg. That's how long I want my tails. So I go from peg to peg. And then we smush our ribbon into a good pinch. Now we're going to take our black pipe cleaner and we're just going to wrap it around our ribbon. That's all we need to do. You don't have to twist it, just wrap it. Now on your peg, halfway down, I'm taking this out so y'all can see what I'm doing. Halfway down, hold your thumb halfway down when putting your bow on, okay? And then wrap counterclockwise and put your pipe cleaner through the slot on this peg. Your other pipe cleaner, you want to go, counterclockwise and then clockwise. You want to go clockwise around the nail and then take the remainder and tuck it under your board. This wire is called, or it's your wire, y'all, is called your finishing wire. This is where people get confused. Okay? We're done with this one for right now, but this is our finishing wire. So now we want to get our tail out of the way and actually start making our bow. So we're going to get our tail out of the way. Okay? And we're going to start making our first loop. You just simply drop your ribbon over. Okay? Bring your ribbon back around. Like every bow maker, each bow maker has a center point. At your center point is when you're going to do your pinch and twist. This bow maker is no different. You're at your center point here. Pinch your ribbon. I take my finger on the underneath of my ribbon and gather it to the top. And then I twist. How do you know you've got a good twist? If you pull your ribbon out and it is nice and straight. Okay? And then you're going to take your ribbon and drop your next loop. Bring it back. Pinch. Twist. And that's going to be your other tail. This is where people get confused, so pay attention, y'all. This next piece of wire is called your helper wire. You want to go underneath your bow. Okay? Go underneath. Let me zoom in a little bit better for y'all. Let's get all zoomy zoom to make sure y'all can see what I'm doing, okay? All right, so you want to go underneath your bow. Pick this side up, bring it to the other side, and pull on it till it comes around to this side. And it will. It will come around to this side. This is merely just to hold your bow while you're making it, so you just need to pull it in and do one twist. That's it. Then come up here and cut your tail off and move on to your next bow. Okay? I had a 50-yard roller. Okay. Don't worry, y'all. I will keep doing this slow. I'm not going to go faster than lightning speed. Okay? Once again, I always start my ribbon with a dovetail. Get that out of the way. So, with this bow maker bad side up, And then we're going to do our pinch. Okay? Lay this in here. When you lay it in here, take your helper wire to hold the tail and twist it one time. Okay? Tuck this tail out of the way and start making your loops. Bring your ribbon forward and just drop it over the peg. All right? Bring your ribbon back to center. Every bow maker has a center point. This is where you're going to make your twist. Bring your finger on the underneath, pinch it down, and now you want to make your twist. All right? Bring your loop, drop it over your peg. I pull my ribbon kind of tight at this point. Bring it back to center. Once again, we're going to do pinch and twist. Bring our ribbon up here. We're done with this ribbon, so now we want to take our helper wire and tie it off. All right, once you're done, clip this one free and move on to your next ribbon. Any questions up to this point? Are we okay, everybody's doing good? Doing good, doing good, doing good. I thought I had another ribbon up here, but I guess I ran out of it. Okay. So now we're going to use another 1.5 ribbon. What I do when I make the terry bow is my first 3 ribbons are 1.5 ribbons. Give it a minute. Wait till you see the tree topper bow. Okay, so once again, measure your tail. I go from peg to center. Pinch your ribbon up. Place it in your helper wire and just give it one twist. Okay? And that's to hold your ribbon. Take your tail, get it out of the way, and now start making your loops. Take your ribbon and just drop it over your peg. Come back to center. Pinch. Twist. Okay? Drop it over your peg. Come back to center. Pinch. Twist. And now we're done with this ribbon. So we're going to tie it off with our helper wire. Now, I'm going to throw in something a little bit complicated, but it's not really, but I think y'all can handle it. You're doing good. You're following me so far, right? Everybody's good. Nobody's got any questions. We're doing good, right? We're going to bring in the Grinch ribbon now, or the Monster Green Monster ribbon. All right. And we're going to do 2 loops with this one. And I'm going to show you how to do it. Don't worry. Y'all ready? Alright, so I have not been dovetailing this ribbon. There's no reason to dovetail it. So here we go. We're going to start, make our tail. So we're going to pinch this down, put it in our helper wire and twist. Okay, get our tail out of the way. We're going to drop our loop over our peg. Come back to center. We're going to do our pinch and twist. Okay, then we're going to take our ribbon and drop it over our other peg. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And we're, whoop, hey,
What?
hold on. And we're going to do our pinch and twist again because we're going to drop another loop over this same peg. Okay? So drop another loop because we want 2 loops. So we were going to just drop it over the same peg again. Okay? We're going to come back and do our pinch and twist again. We're going to take our ribbon, drop it over the same peg. The same peg. I'm using the same peg, y'all. Pull it tight. We're done. We did 2 loops on that one. How many loops that you do on a bow depends on how full you want your bow, how thick you want it. Alright, so now I'm going to come in with my 2.5 ribbon. If you use the next one by accident, your loops just get smaller, Judy. Alright, so now we're going to use our 2.5 ribbon. Pinch it up. How do you know if you've got a good pinch? That's a good question. If your ribbon, when you pull it out, is fairly straight, that's how you know if you've got a good pinch. So let's tie our ribbon into our helper wire. Now, this is referred to as your stack of ribbon. Okay, you want to make sure that this is going straight. All right, so we're going to take our tail once again, drop it out of the way, make our loop, come back to center, pinch, twist, come back over our peg, drop it down, drop it like a pot, come back to center, pinch, get our tail out of the way, we're done. So we're going to tie this off with our helper wire. And cut the tail off. One last ribbon. Mary, I personally use when I use the wire, I use a 26 gauge. That's what I use. If you are a person that's typically heavy-handed, though, and you break floral wire easy, I recommend that you get a 24 gauge. I knew a lady that she was pretty heavy-handed with hers, and the way she would tighten, and she had to use the 20. She actually used 22 gauge because the way she would break the wires. All right. So now we're done. So I'm going to twist, 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 twist. Cut my tail. Now this is the next step where people get a little bit confused. All right. This wire, remember I told you this was your finishing wire. Okay. So now we want to unwrap it off of our nail. And the reason you need the finishing wire is because this is loose. Alright, this is fairly loose. It's not as tight as you would like it to be for a bow to fluff nice. Alright, so now we're going to undo this one. Now trust me on this much, folks. I always take my finger and run it on my peg and double check and make sure, because normally you're working with the wire and it's thinner, but I double check and make sure that I have unwound my wire all the way. Alright, so with the bow on the bow maker, we're going to tighten this stack down quite a bit. If you don't have good hand strength, this is where a pipe cleaner would come in handy. So you would run a pipe cleaner through here instead and tighten your stack down. Alright, but see how my ribbon is pulling up as I'm tightening that down? Alright, so we're thinning that up. So now we're going to twist, twist, twist. Alright. The easiest way to get your bow off of this bow maker is to remove the center peg and then lift it off. Excuse me, Vanna.
Yeah,
Hanson, can you come around here and lift this piece of lumber up for me so I don't hurt my back?
Yep.
Thank you. How'd you do that?
2 graders.
How bad?
This is a little guy. It should be alright.
It's down there.
The big one?
This.
Yeah. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, y'all. This is a neat little thing that it's an accessory that you can buy with the Pro Bow. Like I said, I typically just fluff mine on a wreath. I got this for mere teaching purposes because a lot of people got the fluff box, didn't understand how to use it, so I bought it. So here we are. That's how I ended up with this. Because when I first started making wreaths and I bought the Pro Bow, this did not exist. So I had no choice but to fluff them on the wreaths, okay? Alright, now, there is an eye on this fluff box, okay? There's an opening on it. Make sure that the opening is facing away from you. You want to take your wire, is actually what it's supposed to be, your wire, and slide it in under the eye. And you want to pull. Okay? Pull to the right. To make sure that your bow doesn't move while you're fluffing it, swing this back to the left, to this side of the nail. And then spin your leftover wire on that nail to hold your bow in place while you fluff it. Okay? Now, start at the bottom when fluffing your bow. I think I need to zoom out. Let me zoom out just a little bit, y'all. Just a smidgen. So you can all see the bow. How about that? Okay, better. Okay. Start at the bottom. Separate your tail from your loop. Now, this is a terry bow, so it fluffs a little bit different. Okay, so I got a tail here, the loop here. So this time I want a tail and then a loop. All right. So I put a loop over here, so now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go tail this way, loop. I'm going to alternate. Thank you. We're going to do the same thing again. And what I like to do is make sure when I'm starting is that my ribbons are alternating. All right, up the stack we go. Now this one's got 2 loops, so we're going to separate the loops first. Okay, so we're going to pull on those first and then put the tail in the center. We're separating stuff out now. We're not as concerned about looping our bow up just yet. Okay, so now we're going to go back to alternating. So once we get it all out there, now we're ready to start really fluffing our bow. All right, start from the bottom and start rounding our loops up. Turn your bow maker if you need to, or your fluff box if you need to, that's fine. Roll your tails up, take them with your fingers, roll them up. Make an X, yeah. Now, if I notice that, like, this one I think is a little too long, we're going to give that a little haircut, which is fine. It happens. But that is, get over there. This is the terry bow. Okay? Any questions? All right, so I'm going to show y'all one last bow. Ugh. I used row C. Row C is the standard row for most size wreaths when you're making a mesh wreath. Okay? Alright, so we're going to bring the Pro Bow back, and I'm going to show y'all one more bow. Because it's that time of year, I'm going to show y'all how to make a tree topper bow using it. So we're going to go all the way out to row F, y'all. And I think y'all will catch on to this a little bit easier because the bow that I showed you isn't exactly like the greatest beginner bow, but it is. Alright, and we're going to put a peg in the center for this one. Now, definitely when you make tree topper bows, get the zip tie out, especially if you're making them and selling them. You definitely want to use a zip tie around your tree topper bow. Okay? Let me go get some 50-yard rolls of ribbon. Be right back. Y'all, my back hurts too much to crawl around on the ground, but I sure just did. Whew. Alright, so I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more so y'all can see my spool holder, which is important to making this bow. Okay? Let me slide that over a bit in this. Okay. I have 3 2.5 ribbons. Okay. This is Dean, I'm just going to tell you flat out, this is the only bow maker that I recommend making tree topper bows on, which you will see why here in just a minute. Okay. This is a satin ribbon, but we're going to use it anyway because I got tired crawling around on my hands and knees and searching for matchy-matchy ribbon. Okay, so I'm going to use a Harlequin, and then I'm just going to use a stripe, red stripe. One of the things that you want to make sure of is how your ribbon comes off the spools, because that's really important when you're making a tree topper bow with this bow maker, because you want them all to come off the same way. which I flipped mine the wrong way. My bad. Alright, the reason you want them all to come off the same way is because you're going to pull all 3 of them at one time. 1, 2, 3. I think I need to zoom out just a little bit more. Hold on. Just a little bit more so y'all can see my spool holder. Just a little bit better. Okay. Now y'all can see it better. Alright, because you're going to want all 3 of your ribbons to come off at the same time. Amy, it is for me. Some people come off from the left, but for me, I come from the right. It's just how I was made up. I can't help that. So, I kind of like just try either side, which side is more comfortable for you. I found most people do direct opposite on this side. It's easier for them. Alright. So, for this bow, we are going to use wire because we're going to polish it off, actually, with... Actually, I'll use the pipe cleaner so y'all can see what I'm doing. Because this is different, y'all. This is, you just need 1. Alright, but we're going to go in half with it at first. So this goes a little bit different. We're going to pull all 3 of our ribbons at the same time. And what you want to do with your 3 ribbons, you want to pinch them up. You want this to be as small as possible. Then you want to take your wire pipe cleaner and you want to twist it around your stack of ribbons. Like so. Alright, everybody with me? So far, so good. Okay, so the first thing you actually want to do, we're going to pull some ribbon off, but you don't want to pull too much when you're running 3 ribbons at the same time. Okay, but we're actually going to pull some ribbon off because we're going to make our first loop over to start. So we're going to take and go, and we're going to take our peg, go clockwise, wrap it, and then if you go clockwise, you want to go counterclockwise, the opposite direction around the bottom peg. That's it. We're set. We're ready to go to make a tree topper bow. From this point out, it is pinch and twist. You do not need a helper wire with this bow. Some people do, and that is fine. And the reason that they get a helper wire with this bow is to help keep their stack even. Okay, so I'll show you how to add the helper wire in. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this around, and we're going to make our first pinch and twist. You always use the center peg with the Pro bow, Barbara. Always. Alright, so when you make your first pinch and twist, and you drop over your first set of pegs, this is when you would put in your helper wire if you wanted it. Some people do. It is not necessary for a tree topper bow. But like I said, some people do want this. So you're going to come through the center, and you're going to go underneath your ribbon, bring it around to the front, and then tie it off. Okay? But this isn't necessary. I'm just showing you how to use it if you need it. All right. So now, we've got our 3 ribbons going. Notice how my ribbons are coming off. They're all nice and pretty. They're not all tangled up. All right, so now we're going to do a pinch, twist, and then drop. Pull more ribbon off. Pinch. Twist and drop. And then you're going to keep going, pinch, twist, and drop. If you ever learned how to make tree topper bows with the Pro Bow, this is by far the quickest way also to get the most full, beautiful bows for a tree topper. Pinch, twist, drop. Y'all see how fast this is going at this point? Alright, so now that we're on to the 3rd peg, y'all, we're going to drop twice because we need more loops as we go to the outside. So we're going to drop twice over each peg. Actually, we'll wait one more row. I think it'll be fine. We'll wait one more row before we do that. Yeah, it'll be fine. Okay. Pinch, twist, and then the last 2 rows we'll drop twice over the peg. A full tree topper bow takes about 20 yards of ribbon. I sell my tree topper bows for $55. Alright, so we're going to go once. And then we're going to drop over this peg one more time, y'all. When I make tree topper bows that people buy, I use really good quality ribbon. I don't use satin ribbon. And also, I fluff it before I send it, and I spray it with a little water glue mixture to stiffen it up some more so it'll last longer. There's my tip for y'all. That's my Jackie's Recent Things secret for y'all. That was my secret I've been holding on to for years and never told anybody. Y'all the first to hear it. Alright, so we're dropping twice over the pegs now. And I am going to use my helper wire. I don't use this method for smaller wreaths. Absolutely not. It's too big of a bow. It's very full. Which y'all will see once I get it fluffed out, I don't know what you mean by directional ribbon. I've never heard of directional ribbon. To be honest, I've been doing this for over a decade, and I've never once had a customer ever call me and complain that my ribbon was facing the wrong direction. They've never sat there and said, "Oh, the legs are upside down" or whatever. I just think that some people are over analyzing things that don't need to be analyzed. Okay, so I'm not going to cut tails, y'all. And as a matter of fact, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to roll this back on the roll because this is a lot of ribbon. So I'm going to leave this on here, but I'm going to show y'all how to fluff this bow. Alright. So my hands are starting to get tired. So I'm going to grab a zip tie and show y'all. This is what I would do to cinch it down. Take your zip tie. Go under all your ribbon. Come out the bottom. And I promise you, you pull on this, it'll come around the peg. And if it doesn't, just take the peg out. Pretty much so done with it anyway. Because now we're going to want to cinch this down as tight as possible. So when you're making a tree topper bow, you want a very beefy zip tie, my friends. Lift it off. And now we're ready to fluff the bow. Once again, with your fluff box, make sure that the opening is facing away from you. Pull your wires in, swing it to the left, and then start wrapping that around. I think I need a little reinforcement here, so I'm going to take the other pipe cleaners. Yeah, I do. Because this pipe cleaner is not long enough. That's the other reason you need to use wires, because you can make it longer. Alright. So now we're going to fluff this out, and y'all are going to see why. Why? Alright. So we're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to separate our loops out first. And I alternate. You definitely want to alternate. So I'm going to go red, green at the bottom. And then I'm going to do the same thing red, green. All right. The next size up. I don't want to try to avoid colors touching. So I'm going to alternate it different this time. I'll pull the black out, then I'll do the red, and then the green. Black, red, green. So this time, I'll pull the green first. I'll go green, black, red. You just kind of want to get your own little pattern down on how you do this. But I just try to make sure that colors basically aren't touching, y'all. Alright, so that's one side of the bow fluffed. So now I'm going to turn my fluff box around. And we're going to go to the other side. Start at the bottom. Pull the loops apart. There's part of me that's in a little bit of concentration mode, y'all, because I'm trying to mix my colors up a little bit here. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to just quit talking all of a sudden. Ta-da! The fluff board does not come with it. You don't need to get a fluff board. Okay? You don't. You can just put an eyelet on your board itself, y'all. And use it to fluff your bows on. Isn't that beautiful, y'all? Now here's my little trick to tree topper bows, y'all. Just gonna tell you. before I ship them, remember I told you I spray them down a little bit? And I do with a little, I do a 50-50 mix of glue and water. But when you do that, you want to hang the bow upside down. Don't leave it flat like this, okay? You want to hang it upside down to dry. Don't spray it heavy, you're just going to spray it lightly. I told y'all, I can't think of a better way or an easier way to make a big tree topper bow. Okay? Where I would recommend putting the eyelet, okay, is right here between row B and C. Right there. I promise you it won't be in the way there. Alright? Typically when I ship these, Barbara, I use tinsel wire, which I don't have any right now. I need to order it. Laurie's got some, y'all. She's got the tinsel wire. And I'm talking about the rolls of tinsel wire. That's what I use, typically. And I'll use it, I'll put it on after the zip tie. So I won't use a pipe cleaner for my customers' ones. I'll use a tinsel tie because it's a whole lot stronger. Let me see. I might have some tinsel wire. Let me see if I've got, hold on, y'all. Let me see if I've got some so I can show you what I mean. I might have some in my front of my work table here. Hold on. I do. I actually do. This is tinsel wire. Laurie's got some in stock right now, y'all. But I use this and I get it so I can make it long enough. This is stronger than pipe cleaners. And I'll make it longer for the customers to tie this, to use it to tie the bow on their tree. The kind of glue you want to get regular Elmer's glue all. Do not get water glue, regular Elmer's glue all. Do not think that there's a substitute or you can use it. You can't, because otherwise it will whiten your ribbon. It'll change the color of your ribbon. Did y'all enjoy this tonight? Anybody got any questions? Do y'all feel more confident in making a decision about purchasing a bow maker? Like I said, I do my best to just be impartial. Just show you pros and cons. Oh, thank you, Miss Dottie. I would ask the customer, Miss Shirley, and it would depend on how big their tree is. But typically it would just be 3. Most of the times when I charge for the bow, number one, what I charge for the bow, and if it's tree topper bow, I just send them with the rest of the roll of ribbon. Believe it or not, I'll send it attached just like this and let them cut their ribbon to length. And I'll send them with the remainders of the rolls of ribbon. So when you buy a tree topper bow from me, it's the 3 ribbons, okay? And I just send them the remainder because they bought these rolls of ribbon, so I just send them what's left. Because basically, when you use a tree topper bow, it's going to take the whole roll anyway, or most of it. So I'll send it. I won't cut the tails. That way the customer can cut them to taste. The last bow maker, the Pro Bow, it can make hair bows, y'all. It can make all kinds of bow. There's all kinds of tutorials out there, y'all, for all of these bow makers. Even if you didn't understand the way that I teach tonight, I recommend that you don't give up, okay, y'all? If I would have given up on the first tutorial that I watched on any bow maker to this day, I wouldn't be making bows, okay? I didn't give up, and I found tutorial that gelled with me, y'all. And at that time, believe it or not, Regina was the only one, and Bodabra was the only one doing tutorials on their bow makers. So when I started, those were the only 2 choices. It just so happened that I gelled better with the Pro Bow and the way that Regina taught. I always recommend to people that if you like the way something turns out, find somebody that teaches it the way that you understand. There's several of us out there doing different tutorials on each bow maker, and not everybody explains it the same. I appreciate that. I try to go slow and thorough and put thought into what I'm saying. A typical tree topper bow takes 20 yards of ribbon, y'all. One this size is 20 yards of ribbon. These rolls right here are 50-yard rolls of ribbon. I got them out. So to be honest, I didn't want to break open any of my 10-yard rolls of ribbon for this. So I just grabbed 50-yard rolls. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good rest of the week. As always, I've got more projects coming Monday. What am I doing Monday? I've got something special planned Monday. What was it? Somebody tell me what I was doing with y'all Monday. I've got something planned Monday, y'all, and it just, like, escaped my mind. All right. I'll probably remember once I get my order tomorrow, my shipment of stuff. I'll probably remember then. Oh, I do remember what I was going to do. All right, y'all. I do have a special project coming for you Monday. All right. We're kind of getting into the full-blown Christmas season, and I've got another popular seller. It sells popular for me that I'm going to show you. All right. Y'all have a great rest of the week. You have a great weekend. I will see you again Monday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.